Maybe you're addicted to porn or to masturbation and you've tried to get free. You've tried to be clean, you've tried to go, days, weeks, months without watching, but you simply can't seem to find a way out of the addiction. Maybe you need to rethink your process. In this video, I'm going to share with you a study that is incredibly insightful for anyone who's interested in going free from addiction and creating a fulfilling life. Have you heard of the rat park experiment? Now, this is the somewhat simplified version, but back in Vietnam days, soldiers in Vietnam had access to almost any narcotic that they wanted from the local Vietnamese people. And actually, a great many of them got seriously addicted to opiates, like morphine, for example. But then they came home, and for the most part, they all just stopped using the morphine on their own. Very few of them actually became addicts. Of course, scientists couldn't figure out why, because morphine is incredibly addictive. So they did a lot of experiments. They did a lot of testing. They did experiments on rats in cages, and none of those tests or experiments or studies really explained how easily the soldiers gave up morphine, because the result was pretty much always the same. Get the rat addicted to morphine, and then he stays addicted. Take away the morphine and the rat just goes through crazy withdrawal and flips out. Anyways, a scientist named Bruce Alexander kind of came up with an idea. He had this theory that maybe the problem with the experiment wasn't the morphine, it was the cage. All right, so they built a cage called Rat Park. And this is really cool. It was like 200 times the size of the lab cages that they were using. It had 15 to 20 rats of both genders, plenty of food, wheels, toys, accessories, stimulation, space for mating and playing and exploring, all that kind of stuff. So basically as close to rat paradise as you could think of, or at least as close as you could get in a laboratory. And the most interesting part of the experiment was this, that a bunch of rats were addicted to morphine. They were essentially forced to be addicted to morphine by giving them water that was laced with morphine in it. And half of them, of that group that were addicted to morphine, were put in standard lab cages with 2 water dispensers. One water dispenser had just water in it. The other water dispenser had water laced with morphine in it. The other half of those group of rats were put in Rat Park with the exact same 2 water dispensers, one with water, one with morphine-laced water. Here's the thing, though. The rats in the lab cages would only drink the morphine-laced water. However, over in Rat Park, things quickly switched back to the way they were. The rats actually very quickly readapted to the regular clean water, only testing the morphine water every once in a while. In other words, they essentially went straight back to an unaddicted life with hardly any side effects, hardly any withdrawal symptoms. They just switched back. And the conclusion that they drew was this: when life is awful, when life sucks, addiction has a much more powerful hold. All right, think about the rats in the lab cages. It's not exactly an ideal environment to live in. And so when life is terrible, when life is not ideal, when life is actually fairly confining, addiction is a lot easier to escape to. But when life is fun and fulfilling and free, addiction is a whole lot easier to beat. And here's the point. You should somehow find a way to create your own version of Rat Park, right? Find something that's engaging and fulfilling, that takes away the need for addictive things to give you an escape out of the humdrum, painful, annoying difficulty of life, right? Find things that actually give you fulfillment and excitement and engagement. As a human, you have power, you have control over a lot of different things in your environment, including yourself. So for example, you think about when you go on a vacation and then you come back into your normal life, it's a whole lot easier to kind of create new habits, create new experiences when you're on vacation. But when you come back to your normal life, it's all of a sudden the things that you wanted to escape, the things you wanted to get rid of, the things that you're not proud of in your life are a whole lot easier to go back into. The negative patterns, the destructive patterns that you used to live with become a whole lot more magnetic when you get back into your normal life. And so when you step back and you look at those two experiences, vacation life and normal life, in a third person point of view, you actually have a lot of control over the things in your environment, probably more than you realize. So look at the differences between vacation life and normal life. And when you look at what normal life is, take some lessons and try to change and tweak and adjust things in your normal life. So here's 4 lessons you can learn from Rat Park, or maybe your vacation, that can really strengthen your sobriety attempts, your ability to live free in your normal life. The first thing you need is enrichment, okay? And these are like engaging, pleasurable activities every single day. You know, go play mini golf, play real golf, take up a hobby, an instrument. Do something that you're growing in, you're getting better in, and when you do that, you get a dopamine hit in a positive, normal, healthy way. Like, do things that are enjoyable, that are fun, that you're pursuing and trying to get better at. And as you complete tasks, as you level up, as you get better in things, you're actually going to get regular healthy doses of dopamine. So number 1, you need enrichment. Number 2, you need some exercise. Okay, basic science is at least 2 to 3 times a week. Should be something fun. So maybe it's just going for a walk while you're listening to some music you like, or an audiobook, or a podcast. Maybe you really love hitting the gym, but whatever it is, you need a regular source of exercise. And again, the thing that's going to keep you sustained in it over time is something that you enjoy. I recently just picked up mountain biking, and I'm not amazing at it yet, but it's so much more fun than running, I'm discovering. And so one of the things I try to do is incorporate in my daily schedule 2 times a week. I'm mountain biking, which is a lot of fun for me. So it's something else I'm not dreading, I'm not trying to find an excuse to get out of, but I'm looking forward to. Find exercise like that is engaging and exciting, but also it builds you in positive ways. So you need enrichment, you need exercise. Number 3, I would say learn to cook, okay? Junk food is just a quick dopamine hit, and it's really easy to get. But when you learn to cook, you can actually get better food a whole lot cheaper and take a sense of pride in making it, okay? So maybe you're married and your wife does most of the cooking, or your husband does most of the cooking. Like, even if that's the challenge, find a way to incorporate your own sense of contribution into that. Maybe it's on date nights you make the meal, or you make a dessert, or whatever it is. Like, take control of what goes into your body. Food is like fuel. And so when you're fueling your body with junk, you'll start acting like, junky behaviors. They go together. But when you're fueling your body intentionally with healthy stuff, it's a whole lot easier to sustain healthy lifestyles and behaviors and disciplines with that. Food is fuel, so learn to take control over that. And so a practical way to do that is just learning to cook. And then finally, schedule some social activities. Right? Arrange more activities with your friends. I think it's really interesting. When we were in elementary school, when we were younger, it was a whole lot easier. It's like, hey, do you want to be my friend? And the person would be like, yeah, I want to be your friend. Let's just be friends. And then you sat next to each other at the dinner table, at the lunch table, or maybe you played on recess together, but then you became adults, and it's like, how do you do that? Well, you do that by planning events together. You do that by, being intentional. So for example, I've planned a few friends, we're going out for burgers this week. And it's like one of those things that I keep up with. Sports leagues are fantastic for this. Maybe even fantasy sports leagues, or whatever it is. Like, be intentional to plan, put on your calendar, plan social activities with friends. And if you do that every week or so, and it may be the schedule works for once a month, so plan some other things within those other few weeks. But if you do that on a regular basis in every situation where you'd seek distraction, now all of a sudden you have connection that you're looking forward to. I love how Johann Hari said it. He said, the opposite of addiction is not sobriety. The opposite of addiction is connection. And so when you've planned to have connection, when you've planned to be accountable with people, when you've planned to be connected with people and engage with people, all of a sudden life becomes so much more fulfilling, and it's filled with a lot more meaning. So just to review, you need enrichment, you need exercise, you need to learn to cook, and you need to schedule social activities. You have a lot more control over the factors in your environment, sometimes than you even realize. So take a lesson from the rat park experiment and make sure that you are intentionally curating an environment where life becomes so much more fulfilling. And if you're struggling to do that or know how to do that, we've got a program coming called Revive Your Life. It's courses, it's community, it's coaching that is designed to help you create a fulfilling, porn-free life. So if you're interested in that, head over to reviveyourlife.net and get signed up on the waiting list today.